Welcome to another Miami Milers Club video. This is the name of my running coaching brand and is what I use to deliver my running coaching activities. It is an individual one-to-one coaching service run by myself from my laptop with the aspiration to one day have a training group here on the Gold Coast where I live. The greater purpose of the MMC group is to make running fun and cool, and my coaching philosophy is to provide you with a trusted experience that is ultimately going to make you a better runner on the track and off the track as a better person. I aim to demonstrate this through leadership and kindness that reflects an exciting running environment to improve oneself. And if this sounds something that you're interested in, please reach out if you'd like to be a part of it. I'm currently taking on athletes as well. Okay, on to today's workout. So I really enjoyed writing workouts and giving them a go myself, first of all, from what I hear or what I read and see, based on my current level of fitness. And I'm going to post these workouts on this channel through Miami Milers Club as much as I can when I think of it. This will appear here on this channel, as well as some ads on the Instagram there. I would encourage my athletes to give these a go if they're off program, but if they would like to give them a go, I can work them into the program. But if you're not one of my athletes and you want to be a part of it, please reach out or give it a go and let me know how you go with the workout. So today we've got the sandwich. So this is the third workout that I've written here based on something that I've seen online and also given it a go myself. It's the hilly tempo sandwich. So you do a normal warm-up following the ramp protocol. So as you can see here, we've got sections A, B, and C with these videos. So I'll talk about A, B, and C as I would do normally. So start with the ramp protocol, then we're going to go into the workout here. So it's a 10 to 12 minute tempo, followed by 4 to 6 short hill reps, nice and hard, and then another 10 to 12 minute tempo, and then cool down and evaluation following the calm protocol, which I've written there as well. Alright. So I filmed another separate video focusing specifically on the warm-up or the ramp protocol, which I was fortunate enough to learn through Athletics Australia when I did my coaching course. And so what this really talks about is following these 4 letters. So first, raise the heart rate, so 10 to 15 minute jog based on your experience and your level of ability. Activate and mobilize, so you want to make sure the right muscles, joints, and nervous system are activated through drills, as well as any stretches that you need to do. So obviously active stretching, not static stretching before we do our runs. And then we've also got the last part there, which is potentiate, which is basically strides, so warming up the pace as well as the activation of those muscles to expose them to something that we know is coming. So if you've ever jumped on maybe a row erg, or even done a workout running, or maybe an air bike, and you go as hard as you can right at the start, you would slowly start to reduce your effort because it is quite hard. If you do a particular warm-up, and this is why we see professional athletes warm up so much through jogging, strides, if they're doing a CrossFit workout, they'll do maybe half or a smaller amount of that particular workout before they then go and do the real one. And that's just to get everything in the body, plus your mind as well, psyched up and turned on before we then hit our hard reps, which we want to obviously do as best as we can through that particular workout. So make sure you follow this ramp protocol, which may take 20 minutes, so you need to consider that within your time when you do lace up and go out the door. So this workout, so there'll always be 3 levels to these workouts. I'm not coaching any professional athletes, but from what I've seen, it's good to have these different types of workouts and these different stages, particularly if you build in fitness or you want to give it a go. And there's nothing wrong with failing or pulling out of a workout if it's gone too hard, or adjusting on the fly as well, depending how you're feeling. And so here we've got a few points which I'd like to spend some time on. But first, you can see that the levels here. So even myself, I'm only at a level 2, right? Level 1, 8 to 10 minutes, 3 to 4 hills. Level 2, 10 to 12 minutes, 4 to 6 hills. Level 3, 15 minutes, 6 to 10 hills. And so I coached this at my UQ running distance running club up in Brisbane not too long ago, and there's some high-level athletes there, faster than me. And we only did the level 2 because of the effort that they put in on the day, which was great to see. And so there's going to be some points here. I try to stick to 3 points at each workout. So this is really a strength building workout. So that's why it's got written there at half marathon pace. This is not meant to bang you up. Each interval is not so obviously there's 3 separate sections, but you don't want to finish with your hands on your knees. You want to make sure that it's not a threshold workout. Of course it's a quality session, and you want to be working hard at some points when you're working hard, but it's really important to remember that this is not a threshold workout. The optimal pace to really get the benefit, I think, from this workout is your guided or understood tempo / half marathon pace. So this is slower than threshold, maybe 15 to 30 seconds, depending on your ability and your pace range, what you normally do for maybe a 20 to 30 minute threshold test. And this is for, the tempos only, of course. And with the hill reps, you're wanting to just be hard, fast efforts, grinding, head down, high knee lift, shoulders, arms moving, and that high leg turnover to make sure that you're driving yourself up that hill, which is the purpose of those reps there. And they'll come out faster than that half marathon and threshold pace probably overall, because of the short distance and the power outage, but that's what they're there for. And so actually it's not about too much around pace on the hill reps. You're going to be running hard. I wouldn't be worried about looking at your watch or figuring out a certain time, as long as you get to the top of the hill within 5 seconds of your first time every time. That's okay, because fatigue will build up over that time. And it's really about form and grunt. Get up the hill, get back down, go again, and that's what hill reps are kind of designed for. And they do build that strength over time, as we see for particular people. So for example, I might do the tempos at maybe 4:15 pace and the hills at 3:40 to 3:30 pace, where I'm just going as hard as I can up that hill, which is, maybe like a 10 to 5k effort, and definitely not threshold, which is obviously going to be a bit slower than that. And that also depends on the elevation and the angle. I've done 5-minute hill reps and I'm not going at that pace, okay? I've done 15-second hill reps where I'm going a bit faster. So it really depends on your location, which we'll talk about in a moment, the size of the hill, the elevation of that hill, so the angle, of course, and, terrain, if you're out in the hills, in the rocks, or, on the trails, or if you're on a concrete road hill as well. And so this can be a longer workout, so you need to remember that as well. So regardless of which option you pick, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 15 minutes, you need to make sure that you break it up into these 3 separate sections. So, to lower the daunt size of some of the workouts that we write, doing level 2, you'll probably be out there for around 30 minutes total, including the rest. Okay, so just make sure you time that in. So it's an important one to stay focused and really controlled in them prescribed efforts that you've put down for yourself, or that I've put down for you, to make sure that you can get the most out of the workout with that strength building, versus having to, really, I guess, feel that threshold pain, perhaps in that second effort of the tempo. And the last point here is, and it's probably the key part to this workout with the trying the 2 different paces, is getting that second tempo faster than the first. So doing this second tempo on tired legs is going to be something that's hard, and you'll feel it. So the tempo effort and the hill strides at the start are going to beat up those legs and really start to turn on that aerobic system to distill some fatigue in that, before you then do your last rep of that long tempo at the end. So during this last rep, it's really essential that you stay focused. But the key here is, in terms of, this is where the effort of the work comes in. So that 5 to 10 seconds, if you do the first tempo, so let's say it's a 12-minute tempo of 4:15s, that's going to be 12:45, okay? If you run the next one, so that's total, so the time is going to be, the time's going to be 12 minutes, unmistakably, and that's your pace. So that's going to be around how you would feel over those 3Ks. So you're not going to get quite to 3Ks. You actually want to run 5 to 10 seconds faster than that first tempo. So you might run 4:05, 4:10. 5 seconds is completely enough over the 3Ks, over the 12 minutes. Even if you're doing 15-minute or an 8 to 10 minute, if you're running 5 to 10 seconds quicker over that period, it's a whole different game. So if you've ever been to a park run, or even at a session with a group, and someone's running 5 seconds a K faster than you, it's a huge distance. Okay, it's not something that is quite attainable, I think, by the eye, how much faster someone's running in front of you, but it's a huge space in 5 to 10 seconds. So that's ultimately the goal with this workout, not dishearten the first tempo and the 4 to 6 hill reps, or the 3 to 4 or the 6 to 10, but to make sure that you're building that strength in that second half. But no more than that, okay? So you don't want to then be bleeding the threshold and running 350s, for example. It's not to get the best time for the second half and for Strava, for example. It's really about controlled, long effort, and being able to then kick down for that second half and find that strength in the legs that you would try and simulate a little bit of the back end of a race, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So we really don't want to creep into that zone, and you may a little bit depending on fitness, and you just don't want to be working in that wrong system. And you really want to make sure when you do a workout that you're focused on the purpose of that workout. The purpose of this workout, strength building, okay? And that's why we're not going to hopefully bleed into that threshold zone. And so I think this is really an important component here around the tips for this particular session. So of course you want to find somewhere that this is actually possible. So, I live on the Gold Coast. There's not too many hill spots, around here. So I've got to make sure that I, plan out my map before I do that. Okay. And when we did it at UQ, we did a lap of this certain section, and the lap finished at the hill. So then we could do the hills and then start our next lap. Okay. And so that really determines on your rest as well. So you can either go flat out and back, do the hill, flat out and back, or perhaps a loop you could find as well to then find that hill spot. So rest is really important here in this workout. It can be varied depending on your fitness level. So I took 2 minutes the last time I did this, and so did the athletes we did it with that UQ between the tempo and the hills. So we did tempo, 2 minutes rest, the hills, 2 minute rest, tempo, and that was the workout. And that's then in terms of the actual hill reps, this is how you kind of do these now. So once you complete your first hill rep, it's okay to take a few deep breaths, or really fast shallow ones, depending how you're feeling, before turning around and coming back down. Okay. And now about halfway down, so I would prescribe a walk halfway down the hill. So pick a marker that you see, which is around halfway of the hill rep, and then take a slow jog back down to the bottom. Kind of the guide from this, and Andy Buchanan said this I think once, is around double the time that it takes you to get up the hill is the time that you kind of want to be moving again. So if it takes you 45 seconds to get up the hill, it should be 90 seconds total rest. So maybe it's 40 seconds walk, and then 70 to 80 seconds jog down to the bottom before you then start that 90-second mark to then go again. And it's a touch and go. It's not a sit and stand. You hit that marker at the bottom of the hill and then you turn and go again. It's designed to be that kind of touch and go, almost like a sports team type workout, that particularly this component of that. And so that's a fun part of the workout as well. And so in terms of the size of the hill, I wouldn't go longer than a minute on these hills. It is a short hill rep, okay. We do some of the other teams that I run with, we do some 2, 3, 4 minute hills, but that's the workout. Okay, this is a very different component. It's just a touch on in the middle of the tempos, and so we don't want it for the whole workout to be focused on the hills. So no longer than a minute, I would say. And once again, I have to stress that this is not a threshold workout. Okay, you want to be feeling at the end of this workout with gas in the tank. Okay, you want to repeat the emphasis that strong tempo, turn the legs over with some high efforts, strong tempo again, stronger basically at that second half, and you want to make sure you finish the workout with still fatigued, that you've done a strong workout on a Tuesday or a Friday, but not as much as a 30-minute threshold test where you got your hands on your knees and you're not feeling very comfortable, like a end of a park run. Okay. And what you'll actually feel in this workout is the leg turnover change. Okay, so how they feel, particularly, there's two things. One is going to be the leg turnover. So in the hills is going to be a lot faster than what it is on the tempo, and that's going to actually help the second tempo. But the problem with that is, you've got this slow, nice, controlled turnover in the first tempo, and you want to mimic that a bit faster in the second. You've got this, all gas, no brakes in the middle with the hills. What that's going to create is this heaviness in your legs for that second tempo, where your legs are going to understand that we've had some lactate build up, we've done some strong hill reps. How do I now react? And this is what we're trying to stimulate in this workout, is the fatigue in those legs on that second tempo. And that is what we expect to occur at the end of a 5-10K. And so this is where we're building that strength and the purpose of this workout. So you really want to lean into that feeling of, how do my legs feel? What do I need to do to make them feel better? And how does that change throughout the duration of this workout? And so here, now I've explained this in my first video around the purpose and I guess the different threshold zones, particularly the zone, the max heart rate, effective work time and zone, the nutrient utilization as a dietitian, and then your expected lactate in these particular areas. Now, all workouts are different. The purpose of this workout, a session, is to improve your aerobic strength, and we're going to go through that in a moment. But all workouts are basically trying to improve your running performance by training different energy systems, so aerobic and anaerobic, through varied training stimulus, so hills, tempos, long runs, K efforts. These improve running economy, speed endurance, speed reserve, pacing, threshold tolerance, mental fatigue, energy use, efficiency, and your overall running performance. Okay, so think about a rainbow, all the colors, you've got to work on all of them to get that overall. If you just work on one, you're going to not potentially have a nice balanced rainbow. Okay, you got too much red or green or purple. And so different workouts are prescribed for different things, as I said, for different efforts, different durations, different intensities. This one's particularly around building your aerobic strength. And so what we want to see here is working at that lower than threshold pace, which I've already talked about, to accumulate load over time. Okay, so you could go and do this workout again, perhaps at that 15-minute tempo, but still keep the 4 to 6 minute short hills as well. So you can change things up a bit. So what this workout's purpose is to improve your leg strength with the hill resistance and that fast pace. It'll help you dial into that half marathon pace and learn what that is for future workouts. So if you're then to go prescribe a 6K tempo, what is that particular pace for me since you've done this workout? So, and it's probably somewhere in the middle of your first and second tempo efforts, because you're going faster in the second, you're going nice and control in the first, and that's where you start to learn and feel the body and understand. Particularly, I know for some of my athletes who are just starting out, they don't have that intuition, that interoception in their body of like, I know how to feel without looking at my watch. I don't know. I know that this is my pace and I'm comfortable here, and I'm going to get the work done, and I'm going to get the benefit from this workout at this pace, versus not being able to get out of the hole in a workout, and then they've perhaps impacted the rest of their training week. And so it also improves, obviously simulate the back end of a race when we're talking about lactate building and your mental toughness is tested. But the overall outcome of this workout, when we combine longer repetitions with harder stimulus in the middle, is to expose you to different stimulus within a session, which may actually simulate a race, where there might be a time to surge in a race, there might be a hill in a race, and this can really translate to race day performance. And so it's good to practice these things in a workout, because theoretically on race day, you should then be more comfortable at this pace, if not faster, when you've been challenged in an uncontrollable environment like a race. You've got to think back to your training. And so in terms of your aerobic strength gains, you can now be stronger over longer distances and different terrains from a workout like this. So you'll be really more efficient at using your oxygen to produce energy and clear lactate from doing something like this, which is, the purpose of our workouts. And so a really good example which I like to use is, you have improved the efficiency of the car engine, as well as how the car moves off-road, like a Pajero on or a Mitsubishi on a sand terrain as well. And so once again, you can't forget the warm down. It's essential. You shouldn't feel totally ruined by the end. When I first started training and doing workouts, I'd get to the end and I couldn't believe how the group was just slowly becoming out of sight. I was like, hey, how are they warming down? We've just done all this running. That comes with time. Particularly if you're doing it with yourself, you look down, you go, gee, I'm a lot slower today on the warm down. Sign of a good workout, but also perhaps, depending on your ability, how much more jogging you need to do to then still be able to do that cool down. So very similar to the ramp protocol. It's 4 letters. I call it calm, because it's at the end and you will be calming down. First is catch your breath. So you've done some hard running. Take some time to get a drink of water, catch your breath if you can, before. So 2 to 3 minutes, walk around, shake your legs out before you start to then begin that warm down jog. Start to adapt the system. So begin the adaptation process from this workout. 10 to 15 minute jog based on your ability or what's been prescribed. The warm down will allow you to flush the legs out of those heavy metabolites that have been built up, such as lactate, to make them feel not as heavy the next day. It's really essential to do this. You see even pro athletes, after they do a race, they'll go do a 5K warm down. Okay, it's really important for that next day of recovery and to ensure that you can compete at least. This is probably the number one step of this calm process that you need to complete to then make sure that you can recover for the rest of the week if you don't do anything else. Now on this jog, I talk about learning. I encourage you to think back to the workout, talk to the people in the group if you're in a group around, and reflect on what went well, what went bad, where you can improve for next time, but pat yourself on the back. Don't just focus on the bad, like I did well on this rep, or like I stayed next to this person who I think's a good runner. This can really help you to know yourself better, and know yourself better as a runner, particularly as time goes on. So when you've had a big day at work and you go to your run, you know what you're doing, and you're not going to run into anything unexpected. And you may want to include these points in a training diary, such as a notebook or digital version on your computer, or your private Strava notes as well. And so the last step here is really voluntary and varied, depending on what you want to do, and that's around getting on the mat. So when you get home or when you get back to the end of the grass pitch, start to recover. Pull out the yoga mat. This can be whatever you want to support your recovery to run again tomorrow or in a few days. So getting on a yoga mat to do some stretches, some physio work that you need to do, rolling, or even some light. Close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths. It's nice to think about that as well. Look at the night sky or the morning sky, or even some stronger recovery measures that you may be doing yourself, which I haven't necessarily spoken about here, which I will intend to do in a few weeks' time, is around sauna, cold therapy, and a big bowl of carbs, of course, as well as a dietitian. So that's all I have time for today. Thanks so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to be coached by me, please get in contact with me via my website. If you could think about subscribing, that's great, to the YouTube channel, or follow me on Instagram, or join the Strava group as well. All the details are below in the video description. Thank you.